welcome to another episode of Pretty Brilliant. My name is Brittany Nicole, and if you're new to me, this channel is about reprogramming your mind to level up your life. So today we're going to talk about the pinnacle of reprogramming your mind and leveling up your life, and that is the concept of quantum jumping. I'm going to explain it and break it down and probably ruin it for you because let me explain my point of view. Okay, so I'm someone who researches reality mechanics, and what I specialize in looking at the way that language interacts with reality, the way that language interacts with physics and with biology. So when it comes to words, I'm very, very technical. Because to me, they're not just words, they're not just sounds, they are architecture. Words are units of reality. So I take the words that we use very, very seriously. Here's an example. I was reading a book the other day about epigenetics, and that's because I want to learn about programming DNA with language and with sound. But the tone that the author was talking in was very disempowering. I stopped reading the book because the language that you allow into your mind becomes your reality. So if I am reading something and someone is telling me that I can't do this and that I can't do that, my brain doesn't know the difference between what that person is saying and what reality is. So I don't digest that type of information. I don't digest disempowering information because you really have to be vigilant with your psychology. So when I say that I don't like the word quantum jumping, it's because to me there is some, I don't know if it's dishonesty, I want to say, or untruth. I just don't feel like it's the most accurate way to understand this phenomenon. I think I actually am going to need to do a little bit of quantum physics explanation so that we can understand this better. Hold on to your hats. This is an apple. Duh, right? But what is an apple made of? Atoms. And what are atoms made of? Subatomic particles. And what are subatomic particles made of? We can go on and on and on. I won't bore you with the details, but the point is, if you zoom in close and close and close enough at the smallest structure of anything, you will see that everything is made of the same stuff. Quantum physics basically is the study of how things behave at the quantum level, the level of the smallest stuff we can currently measure. People often use this word quantum to mean speed, because at the quantum level, things move quickly and in a way that science is not comfortable admitting yet. So when someone is attempting to make a quantum jump, what they're really trying to do is change the trajectory of their life quickly. So here's the thing with quantum jumping and quantum leaping. I am not saying that it's a false concept or it's not a real phenomenon. It is a master level concept. It is not something that the average nervous system is prepared to handle. And if you don't believe me, let's test it. Right now, I want you to become enraged. 1, 2, 3, go. Are you enraged? No? You couldn't conjure up rage on demand? Why can't you conjure up rage on demand? Because it takes loading, right? Rage is a very intense experience for your body to process and produce. And quantum jumping is an intense neurological event where you're moving from your baseline neurological state to an ideal or optimized neurological state and trying to stay there. A neurological relocation is an expensive event for the body. It requires a lot of power, voltage, emotional fuel. You have to have master level command of your nervous system to be able to create that type of event in the body. And not only do you have to create it, you have to hold it. So if you can't take your emotions from 0 to 60 like that, you cannot quantum jump. Sorry. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me give you another test to try. You ready? Okay, now calm yourself down. No? Okay, well, you can't quantum jump. I'm sorry for scaring you. However, my point is if you can't play your nervous system like an instrument, then quantum jumping is not something that you are prepared to do. Yet, you can train your nervous system to become that flexible and that resilient and to have that kind of range. But if you can't take yourself from extreme to extreme easily, then quantum jumping is not something that you need to be trying to do. Okay, now that I've explained quantum jumping, what it is and what it does, I'm gonna throw that word out. I'm not using that word the rest of this video because that's not how I think of it. I think of it as neurological relocation. And I like that language because it's specific and it tells me exactly what I need to do. Rather than jumping on some random quantum map from this place to the next place, I actually need to map my neurological state from where it is to where I want to be. I find it helpful to think of neurological states as the cocktail your body is currently drinking. And that metaphor is because most of us understand what it feels like to be drunk versus sober. It's a state change, right? And learning to change your neurochemicals on purpose is how you change your life at the root. Change is difficult for one simple but morbid sounding reason, and it's because your identity perceives change as death. And it kind of is. In order to graduate from one identity to another, you have to lose. You have to stop being who you were so you can become who you are becoming. And that can be difficult. It can be painful. So I'm going to give you a framework and some prompts that you can reflect on to kind of architect your growth rather than trying to jump from one position to another. I call this framework the identity ladder. So what you're going to do is identify someone who is living the reality you want to have, the reality that you're aspiring to, and you're going to ask yourself the following questions. What kind of people would they not have in their life and why? How would they invest in themselves? What insecurities do they not have? And how did they overcome them? What losses and failures did they overcome? What do they not complain about anymore? And what ways do they not waste their time anymore? This might not feel as sexy as like thinking and imagining and Pinterest vision boarding your way to the future, but this is the work. These questions help you to identify what the real life living state is of a person who is living the reality that you want to live by thinking about what they don't have in their life anymore. When you think about, let's say Beyonce, okay? Just imagine what kind of people do you think Beyonce does not keep in her circle anymore? That tells you about her decisions, that tells you about her standards, that allows you to imagine what it feels like to be Beyonce. And I'm just using Beyonce because she's culturally well known. It doesn't have to be Beyonce. It doesn't have to be somebody who's a celebrity at all. You just want to get an idea of what did it take for that person to become what they became. What did they lose? What boundaries did they set? What changes did they have to make in their life? Because ultimately making a quantum jump, a quantum leap, neurological relocation, whatever you want to call it, you're trying to change your life, which means that there are things that are currently existing in your life, things that you are currently tolerating, things that you might not even realize that need to change, that are going to have to change if you're trying to go somewhere. These are the type of thought experiments and challenges I do with my mentees and clients that I'm consulting on projects where vision and forethought are required. So if you're interested in working with me in that capacity, I'll have a link to how we can work together in the description box below. That's it for this episode of Pretty Brilliant. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.